wonder what's hot in the baking world right now? It's not even that complicated. You get store-bought croissants, cut them open, shove in some store-bought cookie dough, and that's it. Hi everyone, I'm Gemma Stafford, professional chef, cookbook author, and creator of Bigger Bolder Baking. Welcome to Need to Know, your go-to podcast for everything baking entertainment. From the latest trends,
this is the viral scrambled pancake trend.
What? To the tips and tricks you crave.
We discovered that if you take apple peels, toss them in a little cinnamon and sugar, and bake them for about an hour in the oven, you get a really lovely treat.
Plus exclusive interviews with baking pros.
Hey, it's Liz from the Sugar Geek Show. Thanks for having me, Gemma.
We've even got the Bold Baking Hotline to answer all of your baking queries and questions.
Is a Dutch oven really necessary for baking bread, and what difference does it make?
Yes, I think we probably would agree on that, do we, Oni?
Yeah,
oh, good. So join us every Sunday for your new weekly baking ritual. It's everything you need to know.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We've been making cheese in Wisconsin since before we were even a state, which may be one reason why we win so many awards for it. It's what happens when a whole state dreams in cheese. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
It's Cutting the Curd. Thank you for joining me. This is Jessica. For this episode, my guest is Rebecca Brady, founder of Seedz, the seed cracker spotted in cheese shops and specialty food departments across the country. And in my kitchen, I eat Seedz more than any other cracker. I love Seedz, so I am so excited to have met Rebecca during the American Cheese Society conference in Buffalo, where Seedz is actually produced and headquartered. The path from New Zealand and Buffalo, New York, from marketing to full-time mom to running a booming business rooted in community and health. We're getting into all of this with Rebecca. Welcome to Cutting the Curd, Rebecca.
Hey, Jessica. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you because, like I said, I've been enjoying Seedz crackers for a really long time. And I feel like I've watched the growth of the company as the crackers have moved into newer and bigger stores, more doors, and more categories in a whole variety of shops. So I would love for you to start off by telling us about Seedz and what are Seedz crackers? Where did this recipe come from?
Well, they are seed-based snacks. Seed-based crackers. The product line is not actually just crackers. We also make roasted seeds, and we also sell our raw seeds, and we have a bake-at-home cracker mix as well. All of our products are gluten-free, they're nut-free, vegan, and just packed with nutrition. We're seed specialists, and seeds are nature's powerhouse of nutrition. So we just love seeds, can't get enough of them. And they're just great the crackers in particular are great on cheese boards or with hummus or just on their own, just shove them in.
And how did you settle on the name Seedz with a Z?
Well, this is kind of fun. I took about a year to get everything set up and running. And, it was a big step deciding to do this. So in that year, I kind of went to and fro on various different names, but I love the pun of the top seed. The top seed is someone in sport who's most likely to succeed. So we call our crackers the top seed of crackers. They're also packed with seeds. And the Z is the ode to New Zealand, my home country or where I was born. We also love supporting women in sport or basically anyone in sport. So it's kind of a nice connection there between women in sport, woman-owned, the New Zealand thing, and just trying to be as best as we can, be the best cracker we can. Also a fun thing, in our manufacturing facility, we've named our ovens after top athletes. So we have a Serena after Serena Williams. We have a Morgan, Alex Morgan. We have a Caitlin. We have a Lydia. I don't know if people know the New Zealand golfer. She's a superstar. She just won a tournament over the weekend. So, yeah, we just try and make it as fun and supportive of everything in life, really. Nutrition, women, sport.
I love that you just shared that, because so many of the people I've met and visited, especially goat dairies, they name the goats after female performers, their favorite female singers, their favorite female, icons. So I'm happy to see that this also applies to your company. I also want to point out, I think people are like, this is cutting the curd. And why are you talking about crackers? And we have had people on to talk about crackers, to talk about other accompaniments. And I feel like so much of the story of how people come to making an artisan product and a natural product, there's so many similarities. And I also want to share your story because there are so many values wrapped up in it. Like you were just talking about the importance of sports and the women-owned business angle and really highlighting and promoting some of these. So can you tell us what your origin story was? Because you're from New Zealand. And we met in Buffalo, but I know there were a few turns before then that led you to Buffalo and to starting the company. So tell us about your path.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. So I graduated from university in New Zealand and then went on my 2-year travel around the world, which is kind of compulsory for New Zealanders. After we graduate, we've got to get out, see the world, go back home and settle down. But I just never did the go back home bit. I went to Japan and actually met my husband, went to Singapore with him and worked there for 10 years. I was working at Hewlett Packard, had a couple of kids, and then we got transferred back to Japan. So I spent another 10 years in Japan where I raised my children, which I feel very lucky that I was able to do that. We didn't have family around, so there was really no option other than me not working. Of course, I got to play a little bit of tennis and squash during the day when they were at school, which was nice too. Mm-hmm. And then we got transferred to Buffalo, New York, which was, we were teased mercilessly for a good year, but arrived here and actually loved Buffalo. Moved here and then thought, okay, it's time for me to get back into the workforce. My kids were teenagers and were very happy to not have me around. So I thought, okay, I'll look for a job. But because I'd had that 10-year gap in my resume and living in Japan, my resume wasn't worth very much anymore and I couldn't really get the job that I wanted. So I thought, okay, why don't I do something myself? I'd always wanted to start my own business. And lucky enough, my husband had a job, which also included health insurance, which, as you know, in the US is a big deal. So came to the conclusion that everyone had been raving about my crackers. Every time I'd go to someone's house without the crackers, there'd be a little bit of disappointment that I didn't want the crackers.
Like you show up at the door and they look right to see if you're carrying anything.
I would reassure them that I was still present, but it didn't always equate to the excitement of the crackers. So I thought, okay, I'll start a seed cracker business. And that's where I am now.
And you started with the farmers markets?
Yeah, that's right. So there was a winter farmers market in Buffalo that I went to. We had to wear ski suits because we were down in the basement and it was a very slow market. But it was a great time to just experiment and talk to customers about the pack size, the different flavors, what they liked, what they didn't like. And launched from there into Wegmans, and not long after Whole Foods opened in Buffalo. Just a couple of lucky big moves there into those big customers. And then from there on, once you say you're in Wegmans and Whole Foods, people tend to listen. And, you have a big distribution there as well. So a lot more customers are seeing the product. So, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, and it's a great way to test the field, not only with your recipe, but with packaging. Because I think about the cracker companies that I have worked with over the years, and been a surprisingly large number of them, all of them wonderful crackers, all of them who started off similar to the way you did, and going from maybe starting off with a bag or starting off with a cello bag and then moving to a paper bag and then maybe moving to a clamshell or moving to a box. And then all of that flexibility, I would assume it takes a lot of flexibility because as you grow, did you find that what you were doing was kind of determined by what the next customer wanted? How did you manage some of the R&D during that period?
Yeah, I think some of those things are, like you said, it's really what the customer wants. So, I really looked around at how other crackers were being delivered and what customers liked. I mean, the big thing is you got to protect the cracker, right? And get it to the customer in one piece and make sure it's as fresh as can be. So there's a few constraints there before you even start getting creative, right? But yeah, I think it all boils down to what the customer wants, right? Getting the cracker to them nicely. But that's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I did marketing, so I had a lot of fun designing the packaging and the logo and the design of everything.
And what were some of your intentions when you started the company? Did you set out with goals, or I know you have a mission that you share on your website about the kind of company you want. So your vision on the website is Top Seedz firmly believes that when we eat healthy, we can create positive change within ourselves and in the world. So are there intentions that you have with your company about how you operate your business or how you create your product?
Yeah. Well, to answer the first question, what were some of my intentions? I really had no idea what I was getting into when I did this. And it really was to just do something for myself and do something fun. But I did know from the very beginning, I love the connection between nutrition and performance. So I knew I wanted the product to be, or any products that we make, to be as healthy and good for you as they could be. So that was a big thing. I also I read some statistic early on that women-owned businesses, some certain percent don't survive past 2 years.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, if I could get to 2 years, then I'm breaking that trend there. That would be great. I also wanted to be profitable from the very beginning, and I was. And sometimes I think that's also, I didn't know that I could go out and get an investor and sell my business to them. And, so I really appreciate that I didn't go down that path. Like I said, I was profitable from day one. So I knew I had to be as efficient as I could. So when I started off in a commissary space. I knew I had to get in and out of there as fast as I could. And efficiency, it comes into our conversations every day. Are we being efficient in everything we do? I don't want to waste anyone's energy taking extra steps around the facility, similar to like on a squash court or a tennis court. You don't take extra steps to get to the ball. You do the bare minimum so you can get back to that maximum spot. So we bring that into our manufacturing processes all the time. But don't tire people out. Don't make them do extra when they don't need to.
That reminds me of the way chefs talk about a kitchen setup as well.
Oh, really? Same philosophy. Yeah. I also knew I wanted to create food that's good for everyone, but not sacrificing flavor. There's not much point creating something that's really good for you, but tastes disgusting. And, people are going to be having to block their nose when they swallow it down, right? I knew if it tasted great, you're onto a winner, and that the additional bonus there that's good for you, it's a must really that we eat food that is good for us. So that was a big thing. And from the very beginning as well, I wanted to be organic. I think we got organic certified at about 2 or 3 years in. It was expensive, but definitely worth the step. And, I feel happy now that we're doing, we're creating a great product, a great nutritious product.
Yeah, and I do later on in this conversation, I do want to ask you about labeling and the choice for the call outs that are on the packaging. But I also want to point out, you talked about the flavor. One of the things about Top Seedz that I enjoy is the texture, because often people associate the seeded crackers with being very hard and crunchy to the point of like hurting your teeth, maybe being dry. The texture doesn't necessarily lend itself to accompaniments, but I think one reason Top Seedz is so great as a pairing for cheese and other items is the texture. How do you get that texture? If you are revealing company secrets, you don't have to answer that question. So there's the flavor, but also how did the texture play into the cracker?
Yeah, that took a while to perfect actually, and it really was, and it really has up until this point been a lot of manual labor. People are rolling them out by hand.
Wow.
And it's really a lot of work. So we're just in the process of trying to automate that process, and keeping that thin, crispy texture that everyone loves. Yeah, I totally agree with you. When I'm out in the stores demoing, which I'm not doing so much these days, but the first thing people say to me is they eat it and they go, "Oh, it doesn't hurt my mouth," which I'm always like, "Wow, people are prepared to eat something that might hurt their mouth
in the name of health, in the name of healthy food. I'm going to make myself miserable."
Yeah. That was always a good start when they're saying, "No, it doesn't hurt my mouth." Okay, great. We'll pass that test.
So I know that there was at least one pivotal moment in the growth of your company, and that was the 43 North Startup Competition. And there is some news stories, local news stories from the Buffalo area about that competition and about your achievement. You're winning that competition. Can you tell us about what that was and what is the 43 North Startup Competition, and tell us about what you won and how that played into your growth?
43 North is a startup business competition. And if you're lucky enough to be one of the winners, they provide mentorship throughout the following year. You get space in their offices, and you get their team, the resources that are on their team, and of course you get $1 million. So,
wait, I'm sorry, you get how much money?
Yeah, I said that pretty casually. Yeah, we were lucky enough to win $1 million. Yeah.
Wow.
So on the night that I won it, we were down to 10 people, and 8 of us were going to win money. 7 of us were going to get 500,000, and 1 was going to get $1 million. They've changed the format slightly now, but I went from thinking I wasn't even going to get the 500,000 to I got the 500,000. I was one of the last people called up, and then they called me to say I'd won the $1 million. So
wow,
there's this insane photo that gets blasted around every year. The competition comes up with my mouth wide open, and this massive double chin, and I'm just looking really shocked. But yeah, it was an incredible journey. The great thing about it was that up until then, I had really been running around like a headless chicken, just making as many crackers as I could without even stopping to think.
Mm-hmm.
But to enter into the competition, they wanted to see business plans and basically how you were going to use the money to grow your business profitably and, do well in your community or do good in your community. So I really had to sit down, get a business plan together, which, I know I should have done before I started a business, but hey, I didn't. So sat down, got a business plan together and kind of figured out how I was going to do this and how I was going to continue to grow the company. So, that was really an amazing stage in the growth. And we had that year together with 43 North. Like I said, they've got a great team of people who are always there to help make connections in the community. And then other winners were there as well. So it was just a great year of growth and fun.
And we'll also talk a little bit later about what some of that growth has translated into in terms of the physical space of your production, which is really exciting and a recent development too. So, but I do want to go back and talk about that community part. Before we take a break, if we could talk a little bit about your workforce, because this was something when I heard from a mutual friend of ours about it, I just was so excited to talk to you because it's your work with refugees in Buffalo. And that's something that's just very near and dear to me. And if you could tell us a little bit about that and who your workforce is and about that one particular employee who's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, it's been, again, like you say, just so lucky and so fun making these connections as I grew the business. But early on, I had a friend who was volunteering at a community organization here in Buffalo called Journey's End. They help refugees settle here in Buffalo. They help them find housing, schools, and employment if they can. They make connections. So I met them early on. My first employee with them was a wonderful lady, Sita, from Bhutan. Sadly, she moved away, actually, so she isn't with us anymore.
Oh, okay.
But we're still in touch, and she was just such a superstar and such a great ambassador for that organization that she came from. And it's really just been nonstop. They either call me to say they've got people in town, or I call them. Now we have over 50 people working from us, refugees from all over the world. Afghanistan, the Congo, Ethiopia, Eritrea. It's just this wonderful mix of people. Lunchtimes are fantastic. I have my nose in everyone's lunch boxes trying to figure out what on earth they're eating and can I try it? So, it's a lot of fun. And, we're even at the point now where employees are bringing their family or friends in for interviews and stuff. So, it just grows itself. And I just love that we're supporting the community. Of course, they're working very hard for us too, which is wonderful. And we have one employee who I just spoke to the other day. She just bought her first house.
Oh, wow.
And I was so excited for her. But, she really took the time to say thank you. It's because of my job here that I'm able to do this. And that's made my life so much better. And my kids feel so much more stable in their home. So, it's moments like those that you appreciate. We're all just trying to get along in the world and set up our life for our family and, and live life and enjoy life.
Well, on that note, I'm going to say we're going to take a break from one of our wonderful sponsors of Cutting the Curd, and we'll be right back with Rebecca Brady and the story of Top Seedz.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. There's a reason when you think of Wisconsin, you think cheese. Cheese is a huge part of Wisconsin's history and future. In Wisconsin, the state of cheese, the tradition of cheese-making excellence began 180 years ago, before Wisconsin was recognized as a state. Immigrants traveled to settle in this lush green hills of Wisconsin, bringing their cheese-making traditions with them. These storied skills, combined with the freshest milk available, created a cheese-making culture that is uniquely Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 1,200 cheesemakers, many of whom are third and fourth generation, continue to pass on old world traditions while adopting modern innovations in cheese-making craftsmanship. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Welcome back to part 2 of our time with Rebecca Brady from Top Seedz. This is Jessica at Cutting the Curd. And we left off talking a bit about the workforce that Rebecca has created in Buffalo, New York. I want to stay on the Buffalo topic for a minute because many listeners were in Buffalo for the American Cheese Society conference just this past summer, July, and they got a taste of the city and its food scene. So can you tell us about Buffalo as your home and as a company home base?
Yeah, like I said earlier on, we were teased before we moved here mercilessly for a good year.
Teased in a bad way, not like teased with like Not like with like,
teething in a
great.
good way. No, it happened to also be, it was 2014 and they had this horrendous snowstorm.
Yes,
there.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we were getting photos left, right, and center of, doors that were open and there's just this big wall of snow and everything. So, but come to arrive and we absolutely love Buffalo. It's such a cool city. The summers are wonderful, better than a New Zealand summer. So I'm happy about that. And, they're set up really well for the winter. The roads get cleared. You drive out of your garage most of the time and drive into somewhere very warm. So it's not like you're walking around in, shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of winter. You dress properly and then you can go skiing on the weekends. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
We also have, a Frank Lloyd Wright house here. We've got the waterfall here, lower cost of living. There's no traffic, but it's big enough. There's a lot going on. We've got a cool theatre scene here. And yeah, I love it. I really enjoy Buffalo.
Sounds like it was a lot of happy surprises.
Yeah,
which is great.
It really was. And, it's the best kept secret, right?
Yeah. Well, it is going through a bit of a little renaissance and for a variety of reasons. And so how has it been as a place to grow your company?
Oh, yeah, it's been great. I mean, of course, I have 43 North to thank as well for their support and allowing us to grow or helping us to grow. So I said early on, we started off in a commissary space, a tiny little one-room kind of kitchen with those ovens that double doors kind of open. So it's kind of the smallest commercial oven you can buy. And I was having to take the crackers out and rotate them manually up and down and round and round. I had burns all over my arms. And the timers on the two ovens didn't work. So I had stopwatches on the table where I was rolling out the crackers, and we burnt so many crackers. But from there, I moved into a 5,000 square foot facility and bought my first oven. It was Serena. And we could cook 200 boxes of crackers at once perfectly. I remember us, taking the rack out of the oven and two of us just standing there staring at it going, oh my gosh, they're all perfect. And we just couldn't believe it. And then from there, recently, we moved into a 35,000 square foot facility, which, we're quickly filling, to be honest.
Wow. And you just opened that the week of the American Cheese Society conference.
Yeah, exactly. We moved over the bulk of our manufacturing over that week.
And that day of Meet the Cheesemaker, when I met you, that day, didn't you have some kind of final walkthrough?
Yeah, with an inspector. Yeah, that's right. There were different stages of the inspection and it all happened. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, but, you get through it and we did it and we're in. And really just loving it. And it's been an exciting time because, at one point in that previous facility in the 5,000 square foot space, it was getting a little like, oh, we'll think about that when we're in the new facility, or we won't do that until we're in the new facility. So, it kind of stalled a couple of projects because, you can't move until you know that you can do it. So it's a wonderful feeling to know that there's no excuses. We can't say anymore. We'll do that when we move her in. This is it. So we're putting as many best practices in place as we can, and we got our SQF certification, which has been amazing. A lot of work, but there's so many good things associated with that. Lots of good processes that we have in place. So it's been fun. But we did joke when we moved in that we'd have to give everyone a golf cart to get around. It's insane, the change in the size.
Right. And it's like the sports metaphors and analogies and references, they still keep coming. But
it's my world. That's the only language I know. Yeah.
So while we're talking about SQF, let's talk about labeling and about the call outs. You have several call outs on Top Seedz. And I know for a lot of cheesemakers too, there's always the question of labeling, especially on a pre-cut, fixed weight product. that is going directly onto a shelf? And also the investment, do we go for the organic certification or not? The call outs that you have, some of them are gluten-free, vegan, kosher, nut-free, made with certified USDA organic. And you have made in Buffalo, which I love. And I love that it's the buffalo that you see everywhere, all over the city, the statues and the icons of the actual buffalo animal. So what value does labeling provide? Why is it important to you?
Well, to be honest, initially it was really just a bonus, and I really just wanted to make a great cracker. But and I remember to this day, it was, I guess, 7 years ago now, that I sat there and thought, oh, what am I going to put on the packaging? And then I thought to myself, wow, I think these might be gluten-free. And I Googled it, and sure enough, yeah, they're gluten-free. It really wasn't, and that's 7 years ago, really, in my world anyway, it wasn't that big a thing.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I can put gluten-free on. And then I also thought, oh, I think they might be vegan. And, they're two of the biggest growing markets, right? Yep. So that was a nice bonus. So, it's become more and more important as we've grown, and realizing that more and more people are gluten-free or vegan. Again, kosher. I mean, it's really just been listening to our customers and figuring out, can we do that, like getting kosher certified. That came later on. Also, nut-free. I mean, that was always the case, but now we're really strict. No one can even bring nuts into the facility. So we're really aware of that. And also, one of our products is grain-free. During COVID, we developed a new cracker that was also grain-free, the Seedz, and that's like one of our most popular crackers now. But yeah, I like the thought that we listen to our customers and they're asking for it, and I learn a lot. I don't, like I said, don't demo so much these days, but really being out there demoing and listening to customers and hearing what they like, what they don't like about the products, or other products that are out there even. And just thinking, oh, okay, maybe we could do a little tweak here or a little tweak there, or even a new product altogether. And of course, organic, that was the goal from the very beginning. I like to eat as cleanly as I can. And yeah, it was always a goal of ours to get that organic certification. It was important to me, and I knew it would be important to our customers. I think our customers are really carbon copies of me. That's how I feel like. Yeah. So I'm always like, do I like that? Yes, I like it. So our customers are going to like that.
Right.
So, yeah. And of course, finally, the Made in Buffalo, we got a shout out about that, right? They're our biggest, our raving fans that travel all around the US, sharing their Buffalo made products with their families and friends, and then their families and friends come to us to buy the product or go into their stores and ask for it, and then before you know it, we've expanded into new markets. It's a great community that loves anything and is very proud of anything in Buffalo, so it's really nice.
Yeah, so I want to talk about where you can find Top Seedz. There are unique, in my observation in the market, which I end up having to do a lot for work. Not all crackers find their way into independent specialty shops and into the cheese department. And then on top of that, getting from there into the grocery aisle. That's a really interesting choice. Some people decide, I don't want to be in a center of the store. I want to stay on the periphery. I want to be in the specialty department. Sometimes it's the buyer at the store or at the corporate category management level who's deciding, this is not a center of the store product. We're going to keep this in the cheese department or in the deli department. So, what about being in the placement in the store? What is that for you? Do you have a preference? Do you decide, do you have any say in where it goes, or what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I think, like what you said, it really depends on the buyer. I love that we're in specialty. I think we're in the cheese area. I think when people go to specialty, they are looking for sorry to be corny, but they are looking for something special. And they know that those products over there have a little bit more love put into them, possibly small businesses where people are making smaller batch size products, and possibly with better ingredients than you might find in center store. But, in the end, I really just have to trust the buyer of the stores. They know their customers and they know what their customers are looking for and where they're looking for it. So I'd say, I think, like you said, majority of the time we're in the specialty area, but if a buyer tells me they want it to be center of store, I'm not going to tell him or her that they don't know what they're doing and that we shouldn't be there. We just want to get the crackers out there and get people buying them and enjoying them. So if they say it's a good fit to be in the center store, I mean, in Wegmans, for example, we're in both specialty and the cracker aisle. As we all know, stores love to mix it up and move things around a little bit, especially in the specialty area. So for us to be able to tell a Wegmans customer we're in specialty, but we're also in the cracker aisle, it's huge. They always know if they go to the cracker aisle, they're there, but if they are over in specialty, they'll be somewhere over there as well. So, pros and cons. I over to the customer. Let's just keep them happy and able to buy the product.
I find it interesting about Wegmans, and that was exactly the store I was thinking of when I created the question, because I found them in the cracker aisle. There's that weird thing happening, and it's with cheese too, where you have a dairy aisle and there's cheese in the dairy aisle, but there are cheeses in the specialty department. At what point does a specialty cheese become something you find in the dairy aisle? And the same thing with crackers. And what I particularly loved about seeing Top Seedz in the cracker aisle is the fact that it is a gluten-free, vegan, plant-based, however people want to say it, item, organic too, in the mainstream cracker aisle. It's not in the health food section. It's not in the gluten-free section. It's like,
it's an
everyday cracker. Yeah, because my son was gluten-free for a long time. My daughter right now is opting for gluten-free. And so I've kind of, like you said, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, we were, scouring the markets for gluten-free items, and they were often expensive, imported, or just not widely available. And so, to see a gluten-free cracker like Top Seedz in more of a mainstream center store aisle, maybe that's the direction more products will be going, including cheese. So, yeah.
There's been talk that, there's certain sections, like you said, the healthy section in a supermarket, but really that's kind of sad. We really should just have everything in the supermarket being healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little upsetting to think that that healthy food section usually isn't very big, right? It's like, really?
If this is the healthy food aisle, what is the rest of the supermarket?
Yeah.
What are we
saying?
Think
about it, right?
The inverse. Yeah, you're right. Well, we all know, right? Like we those of us who work in certain sectors of the food industry, we know what is out there.
We know where to avoid. But we celebrated that win in Wegmans because it really did make our life easy that we could just tell customers, specialty and in the cracker aisle.
Right. Another shout out for Central and Western New York to have that kind of headquartered up there, to have Wegmans, which is also a growing company as well, and family owned. So there's a lot of great stories out of that part of New York State. So line extensions and new product development, how do you find time to do that? And what is new at Top Seedz?
I love food, Jessica. I just obsess on the weekends about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to eat, and when I'm without eating too much, I've got to think about things that I'll do in between, burn some calories so that then I can think about the next meal. So I never have. I never run out of time. It's more about like making sure I just don't overfeed myself. But you know, the theme of our business and where we want to be is just stay in that nutrition and great tasting area and focus on seeds. So there's just so much we can do. Last weekend, I made a really yummy seed granola.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a granola product now that's more like a topper, but it's more like, we call it in New Zealand, we call it muesli.
Yes.
What do you call, like when you have a whole bowl of it with some milk and some fruit?
Cereal.
So cereal. Okay.
But I do
yes. Okay.
But I think muesli, it really is its own thing that people will, and muesli for a while, that's the thing you would find in the health food aisle, not in the but I think it is like oatmeal is oatmeal, muesli is muesli, cereal is cereal. I actually have used that bag of your seed topper. I put that in my granola. When I have a bowl of granola, so I throw it on there. Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, so I, got some oats and a ton of different seeds and mixed it in with maple syrup and
yum.
A little bit of dried fruit and some coconut. So, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever move into that, but it really was delicious. And I brought it to work and everyone's trying it. We're constantly trying new flavors here. And without saying too much, I mean, there's so much you can do with seeds, right? There's the seed butter, tahini, different flavored crackers. We're getting asked all the time for a spicy cracker.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go, my husband's Irish, so in the summers we go to Ireland, and there's always this really yummy seed sweet kind of cracker made with honey but and a lot of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my goals is to make a yummy sweet cracker, but I'm trying to do it without it being too unhealthy and bad for us. So,
right.
Who knows? Watch the space.
Yeah. And also sounds like the lunchroom in the Top Seedz manufacturing plant could be a source of inspiration for a variety of flavors, right? And
it's so cool. It's just using Google Translate to figure it all out.
That's so wild. Oh my gosh, to think that how much technology allows us to communicate with each other is incredible.
Yeah.
It's so easy now. There's no excuses. There's no excuses for us to not be able to understand each other in different ways now, right? Which is beautiful. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with me on Cutting the Curd. I love so much about your story and what you're doing and the growth and even the location of where you're doing it, I think is really reassuring that small businesses are alive and thriving and that we can all make it happen. Especially love the part of the story with the 10-year gap and the resume that may not look attractive to other people. There's ways we can make this happen for each other. So, thank you for sharing so much of your story with us.
You are welcome. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, it's really an honor to be part of it.
I just need to ask this because it is a cheese-centric podcast. Are there particular cheeses that you would recommend people pair with your crackers? Are there any pairings that you lean towards?
My favorite is brie with New Zealand Manuka honey on our 6-seed cracker. I just can't get enough of it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's been my favorite from day one. It's a wonderful combination. So good.
Okay, folks, you heard that. Everyone should go and try that. I've got the 6-seed upstairs. I've got some Manuka honey. So I guess I know where I'm going. And next time I go to the cheese shop, I get some brie. But thank you again. And for everyone out there, you can always, stream this episode as you're doing now. Find our back episodes on your favorite streaming platforms. Make sure you give us a like or some stars, leave us a review. That always helps people find us. You can always find us at heritageradionetwork.org, at Cutting the Curd. Follow us on Instagram, and I look forward to being with you guys again.
Curd is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.